All right, guys, so today we're going to be going over some of your basic strikes. In fact, all the basic strikes that are required in the Tiny Tiger and Little Dragon program. Our first one is called a center punch, and then we have a lunge punch or a front punch. We have a reverse punch. We have a jab, a hammer strike, and a double punch. Okay? We're going to go over some basic actions. So first of all, center punch is usually just practiced in like a standing position or a horse stance. The idea behind that punch is, okay, there's no stepping forward, and I'm just punching forward like so, okay? So I'm punching in a straight line right in the middle or in the center, and then I use it to practice my alignment and my pathway of my punch, okay? So I'll have both hands to the side real quick. I'm going to start with my right hand first. I'm going to extend my arm out. Now, as you notice, as I'm extending my arm out, what we tell the kiddos is try to pretend like you're pinching a pencil or something in between your armpit, right, or inside your armpit. So that way, that allows my elbow to stay down. Big common mistake, kids come up here, they come up here, or in other words, this armpit area is starting to open up. So I keep that arm down, I extend my arm forward, and at the last second, I'm only going to twist my wrist. Now, this is a really, really hard thing for the kiddos. Sometimes their elbow comes up. It's not the worst thing in the world for them right now. We really want to just make sure that can they punch in the middle of the target? Are they focusing on punching with the first two knuckles? So if I were to hit a board or something, it's just the front of these first two knuckles that's making contact with that board. Okay, so if I'm right here and I do center punch, just like this. Okay? Now, the next punch is called a lunge punch or a front punch. So that's typically done when you're moving forward, right? Now, if I'm right here and I'm in my fighting stance or my front stance and sensei says, okay, we're going to step up and punch, just like this, kind of like how they do in their katas, right? This is called a lunge punch or a front punch because I'm lunging my body forward, okay? Mechanics stay the same. I feel that little pencil in the armpit, extend my arm out. I twist only the wrist. If you could see right here, my elbow doesn't twist and move up. It's just my wrist, and I make contact with the first two knuckles. Aside from those details, the next in detail that's important for these kids to understand is to keep their belly button forward right now. The whole purpose of this is just to help them control their body. That's it, right? You could think to yourself, well, hey, sensei, they could get more extension if they twist. You're absolutely right. However, it's easier to do that, and it's harder to do this, which means this is harder to control, right? So when your kiddo is practicing at home, we want to make sure that belly button stays forward as I do the punch. And that is called lunge punch or front punch. So the first one we went over, chokosuki, center punch. Second one, oisuki, lunge punch or front punch. Next one is yakusuki. Yakusuki is a reverse punch. So you're punching with the reverse hand. So if my left leg is forward, that means my right hand is punching, okay? And it looks like this. So if I'm right here, let's say I got my hands up, I come out, boom. That's the reverse punch. All the same mechanics, right? Once again, one of the important details about this one is I do want to make sure that my hip does twist so I could get my belly button forward, right? And then I could come back to my fighting stance, and I get to come back up. Okay, so that's called yakusuki. The next one is called kisamisuki. Kisamisuki is done with the front hand, and it's a jab. The difference between a kisamisuki and an oisuki is a kisamisuki does not move forward with my feet. It just stands straight, or stands still. Similar to a boxer. A boxer might jab. Well, we also jab, right? So if my hands are right here and I say kisamisuki, this front hand, because this is the front leg, will punch. And we typically aim for the face on kisamisuki. Now, one of the tricky details about this one is when we do this punch, we actually have the belly button turned to the corner this time, okay? Just like this. If I were to face the camera, same angle. I'm here, boom. And again, I extend the arm, my elbow is down, my wrist twist, punching the first two knuckles, and I'm aiming for my target. After kisamisuki, our jab, we have tetsuyachi, which is a hammer strike, and we're making contact with the bottom of the fist here. Now, hammer strike can be done from several different angles. In the kata, the hammer strike is taught to come across to the opposite shoulder and then swing down kind of toward the nose, mouth, chin area, right? And once again, you're making contact with this portion of the fist. You're not trying to make contact with your knuckle and your finger, okay? So hammer strike can be done either coming from the opposite shoulder and down. It could be done coming up, kind of like an inside block, right? But then swing forward as well. It depends on what your instructor wants them to do and how they want to attack. For example, they could say, all right, I'm going to punch, you're going to do an inside block, and then come across and hammer strike right on top of the nose. Or I'm going to grab your wrist, you're going to break the grip, and then strike right on top again. Okay? So the hammer strike is taught to, first of all, just come to the opposite shoulder, keep the elbow forward, swing down. Opposite shoulder, elbow forward, so not necessarily down, not necessarily up, but just kind of more in that forward direction and swinging down. And then your last one is called double punch. So Nisuki. Nisuki typically combines jab and reverse punch, or lunge punch and reverse punch, right? So it either combines Kisamisuki Yakusuki or Oisuki Yakusuki. Just depends on how you want to do the combination. For example, if sensei says, all right, we're going to do Nisuki, so we're going to do a jab and then reverse punch. Don't move your feet. It looks like this. Boom, boom. So putting those two punches together as one motion, that's called Nisuki. If sensei were to say, all right, I want you to step up, punch to the chest, and then punch to the chest again, that's also Nisuki. But that's combining the lunge punch and the reverse punch, right? Really, really good job, guys. The biggest and most important detail behind these punches and strikes is, one, fingers folded, thumb locking the fingers in place, making a proper fist. Number two, keeping the alignment, making sure that your your technique, whether the front two knuckles or the bottom of the fist, is matching the target. So the technique and the target match. And then number three, the alignment. Is my belly button forward if I'm doing a certain punch? Is it to the corner if I'm doing a jab? Is it to the side if I'm doing a hammer strike? Depending on, again, it all depends on what the kata is asking for, what the sensei is asking for. But the alignment is super crucial. We obviously don't want a kiddo to punch out here. One of the biggest details we tell the kids, hey, punch in the center of the chest. And that should help you guys out. I hope you keep practicing. I hope you're getting better. Don't be shy to go back to the other videos to continue to practice as well. Good job.